Developing story that we're following now, Bishop T.D. Jakes, the leader of Dallas megachurch, the Potter's House.
The Potter's House rises from the Dallas skyline like a modern cathedral, its glass and steel reflecting the Texan sun. Inside, 7,600 tiered seats sweep down toward a pulpit designed to hold not just a congregation, but a movement. At its height, 23,000 worshipers pack the sanctuary each week, their voices merging into a single hum of faith and certainty. Every detail of the $45 million sanctuary, from the cascading balconies to the grand organ, was built to signal permanence, to declare that this was no ordinary church. T.D. Jakes himself became part of the monument. Time magazine splashed his face across its cover, dubbing him a spiritual leader of historic scale. Presidents sought his counsel. Oprah called him a friend, Tyler Perry a mentor. Hollywood studios lined up to collaborate, while thousands of faithful waited hours just to step inside. He was more than a pastor. He was a cultural icon, a figure whose presence carried weight beyond the pulpit. Every smile, every tailored suit, every perfectly orchestrated sermon reinforced the myth. A man untouchable, a church built to last, a kingdom beyond reproach. Yet, even the grandest structures have cracks, and the first signs of fracture were already stirring, quietly, almost imperceptibly. Behind the soaring glass walls of the Potter's House, T.D. Jakes wasn't just preaching, he was building an empire. The church's influence extended far beyond Sunday services, reaching into film production, music publishing, book deals, and sprawling real estate ventures. Each branch was carefully constructed, like the limbs of a tree designed to capture every opportunity. Conferences drew crowds from across the globe, and every event, every project, every endorsement reinforced the brand. T.D. Jakes was both pastor and CEO. The financial footprint was immense. In 2004, he and his wife purchased a 7.5-acre estate in Fort Worth, complete with a 19,000-square-foot mansion, guest houses, and a private pool. Luxury cars, custom suits, and high-profile partnerships became part of the public persona, signaling a lifestyle more familiar to Fortune 500 executives than clergy. At the same time, the T.D. Jakes Foundation spearheaded community projects, multi-million-dollar grants for empowerment centers, and initiatives for affordable housing, each deal reinforcing the image of faith translating into tangible impact. Yet beneath the surface, this sprawling empire carried a hidden fragility. Every contract, every revenue stream, every public partnership depended on the untarnished reputation of its founder. One misstep, one rumor, could threaten the foundation of a machine built not just on faith, but on perception. The seeds of vulnerability were already planted. Even the most carefully constructed empires can be shaken by something as fragile as perception. For T.D. Jakes, it began with whispers and fleeting images. A casual photograph at a celebrity party, a fleeting mention in a lawsuit, a connection noted in passing. Online, however, context was irrelevant. The smallest hint was amplified into speculation, and speculation into outrage. Within hours, his name was trending, rumors spreading like wildfire across blogs, message boards, and social media feeds. Then came the videos, some doctored, some entirely fabricated, each one designed for maximum clicks. In one, he appeared at events he never attended. In another, his words were manipulated to suggest scandal. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter became breeding grounds for digital wildfire, algorithms favoring the sensational over the factual. Millions of views rolled in within days, and creators as far away as Pakistan and South Africa profited from the chaos. Experts in digital misinformation like Kate Starbird would later describe it as a textbook example of how bots and crowds can blur reality and rumor. For the first time, the invincible image of T.D. Jakes was being tested not in a courtroom or pulpit, but on screens in every pocket and hand, where perception could undo decades of carefully curated authority. The stage was set for the storm to come. The rumors and viral speculation were only the beginning. In 2024, allegations surfaced that threatened to unravel everything T.D. Jakes had built. A Pennsylvania pastor with a history of criminal convictions claimed that decades earlier Jakes had groomed him, a story soon echoed by two others. The accusations were serious, sensational, and explosive. But behind the headlines, the legal filings told a different story. One accuser demanded $6 million to drop claims, and his lawyer was later sanctioned for submitting fabricated evidence, including AI-generated quotes that never existed. Amid the mounting stress, Jakes' health began to falter. On November 24, 2024, after preaching for more than an hour before a live-stream audience, he slumped in his chair. The microphone slipped from his hand as his body shook uncontrollably. Initially called a slight health incident, he revealed months later that it was a massive heart attack, the right side of his heart starved of blood, minutes from death. For the first time, the pulpit that had carried his voice for decades became the stage of vulnerability. The congregation, the empire, and the broader community were confronted with a chilling realization. Even giants can fall, and sometimes the fight is as much against the body as against the world. By April 2025, the stage at the Potter's house carried a different weight. T.D. Jakes, once untouchable, stepped forward to announce he was passing the mantle to his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts, and her husband, 2A Roberts, naming them co-pastors. Applause filled the sanctuary, but behind the smiles, a quiet unease lingered. The congregation that once drew 17,000 worshippers weekly had dwindled to just 12,000, a decline mirrored in megachurches across the nation. This was not merely a family transition, it was a reflection of a broader unraveling. National surveys from Pew Research and Barna revealed a stark reality. For the first time, less than half of Americans identified as regular churchgoers. Celebrity pastors, once the centerpiece of thriving spiritual empires, now face the challenges of succession, loyalty, and dwindling attendance. Institutions built on a single personality were especially fragile, and even the largest, most influential churches were not immune. The Potter's house, an icon of faith and spectacle, had survived scandals, rumors, and legal battles, but the real test of endurance was only beginning. Could a dynasty once defined by one man's charisma maintain its influence in a world increasingly skeptical of institutions and leaders alike? The question hung in the air like a shadow over the emptying pews.
The story of T.D. Jakes is more than a single church or one man's rise and fall. It is a cautionary tale about the fragility of faith built as a brand. Experts like Kate Bowler and Anthea Butler have warned that when a ministry revolves around a single charismatic leader, the foundations grow brittle. Celebrity pastors, no matter how revered, face vulnerabilities that traditional congregations never encounter: public scrutiny, viral misinformation, and the constant pressure to maintain an unblemished image. Digital platforms amplify this fragility. Fake videos, doctored images, and social media speculation spread faster than any church newsletter could contain. Algorithms rewarded controversy, turning minor associations into trending scandals overnight. The line between rumor and reality blurred, leaving congregants and the public questioning what was true and what was manufactured. Even beyond the Potter's house, the trend is clear. Megachurches like Hillsong and Mars Hill, once thriving on individual leadership, struggle with succession, attendance, and relevance. In America, trust in organized religion has dropped to historic lows, with only 31% of adults expressing confidence in church institutions. The collapse of a single church empire is no longer isolated. It signals a broader reckoning, a test of how institutions survive when faith becomes inseparable from celebrity. The Potter's house stands as both monument and warning. Its glass walls, once shimmering with certainty, now reflect a congregation in flux and a leader stepping aside. T.D. Jakes' voice, which once commanded tens of thousands every week, has passed to a new generation. But can charisma alone sustain an empire built on reputation, not just faith? The question lingers over every empty seat and every digital rumor that still spreads across the web. Across America, churches built on celebrity face a harsh truth. When faith becomes a brand, collapse is not just a scandal, it is inevitable. Attendance continues to fall, trust in institutions erodes, and the next generation of leaders inherit not a legacy of certainty, but a minefield of expectation. The Potter's house is no longer untouchable. It is a test case for every institution built around personality rather than community. And yet one question hangs heavier than all the rest. As digital outrage spreads faster than sermons, and as leadership passes from father to daughter, will this empire survive, or will the echoes of its glory fade entirely, leaving nothing behind but stories of what once was? In the world of celebrity-led churches, the next chapter is always uncertain, and sometimes the fall is only just beginning. As the lights dim on the Potter's house, the echoes of thousands of worshipers linger in empty pews. The empire T.D. Jakes built, a $45 million sanctuary, a global following, a multi-branch business machine, faces an uncertain future. Digital storms, declining attendance, and the weight of succession have revealed a vulnerability that no sermon could shield. Sarah Jakes Roberts and 2A Roberts now carry the mantle, yet every glance at the sanctuary reminds them of the immense legacy and the enormous expectations. Can a church once synonymous with one man's voice continue to thrive when that voice is no longer at the center? The answer is unclear, and the story is still being written. Outside the sanctuary, America's religious landscape is shifting. 1 in 3 practicing Christians have stopped attending church. Institutions that once seemed permanent now tremble under cultural and digital pressures. The rise of celebrity pastors has created empires, but also fragile dynasties, where one rumor or misstep can echo louder than decades of faith. And so the question remains, hanging over the Potter's house like the highest balcony. In a world where faith, fame, and perception collide, who will define the next chapter, and will the kingdom survive the storm that has already begun?